What's going on, everybody? This is your brother, your uncle, Yah-Frey J. I just wanted to come and talk to you about something that rests on my heart, but I just wanted to have a conversation with you about it. And what is that? It is that black people were literally taught not to think critically about their own faith. We were taught not to think critically about our faith. What do you mean? The colonizer in his inception of Christianity taught us that we can coon, meaning jump, and we can shout, and we can give God a praise. But to think, that's something you don't do. To use your own mind, that's something we don't need you to do. So it was all right for us to always give God a praise or always jump up and down and shout. But the whole thing about it is, you're not supposed to think. Just because you do not think critically goes against everything that God is in your life. What do you mean by that? Why would God give you a brain and then give you a commandment not to use it? Why would God do that? Why would God literally create something so beautiful as man, put a brain in us, and then tell us not to use it? Well, that's not for everybody. That's mostly for black folks. We were told not to use our brain at the level of faith. And watch this. So many times we have been afraid to question our faith, not because we were disobeying God, but because we didn't want to displease the massa. We didn't want to get the massa upset. So what we've done now, we have a modern day massa, even with pastors today. There are a lot of pastors right now who still won't answer critical questions. When their parishioners or whoever it is come to them, they won't even answer the questions. We have to understand that critical thinking is logical thinking with the emotions just removed from it. That's all it is. I witnessed something and it blew my mind. I didn't know if it was a demon or if it was just craziness. I witnessed a woman who has a master's degree. I mean, just shriveled up over something so simple, I couldn't get it. What do you mean by that? I watched this woman go crazy because somebody said in a conference that the letter J was created 500 years, watch this, ago. So that meant that if Christ is over 2,000 years old and Mary didn't know what a letter J was, then how could she have named him with a J? I watched a lady sitting next to me go into a frizzle, and I'm looking at her like, you have a master's degree. You should be a critical thinker. But what I realized, the emotions of the lie shut her critical part down where she couldn't even reasonably say, you know what, you're right. A J was created 500 years ago. And this is a trick of the enemy, always to put us in a place where we jump, shout, scream, but we don't think. Watch Christ. Christ comes into the earth, and what is the very thing that Christ does that blows our mind because they know who we are? He speaks in parables. He never answers a question directly. You ask Christ a question, Christ gives you a parable. Why would he give you a parable in return? Because he knew your capacity to think. He knew that if he asked a searing question, that question would open up your consciousness and allow you to think the way they created us to think. So if you have a faith that you cannot question, if you have a belief system that you can't question, then you need to get out of it. You don't need to be a part of it. Because what you don't realize, you are now being colonized and institutionalized in a faith that doesn't allow you the correct answers because you're afraid to ask the questions. So ladies and gentlemen, stop falling for the colonizer's tricks. Stop falling for tricks of bishops and pastors and all of these ones that tell you, well, that question is not important. No, they just can't answer it. That's all. They know how to dress well, but they can't answer the questions. Answer your own questions. Seek out the information for yourself. And don't let anyone ever change your mind about the real truth that you've come into. Always be a thinker. Take care, guys. Love.